Yep. It was the yeah. I didn't believe it when the judge told me. It's like, yeah, I have to give it to someone else. Someone go get this ticket. So they just went down the line and gave it to the next person that had the same tag, but different, same number, but different style tag.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Oh, shit.
Mm. We have our presenters yet?
Well, I have 6:30. We don't have our presenters and we don't have our chair yet. So everybody's a little late. I'm going to start the webinar. So hopefully we'll start to see attendees at the very least.
Okay.
And I see no attendees joining us yet. Okay, this is a strange experience for me.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hey, Cindy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Well, Cindy, this is a strange experience that my committee chair isn't here and neither are our presenters. And you are the only member so far of my executive committee.
Okay. So maybe it's only 6:31. Did you get a confirmation from the speaker recently?
So I didn't, but I believe Natasha did. She's the one who handles that.
Okay, great.
Let me text Cesar, make sure he's coming. We'll check email again, just, oh, maybe they're in as attendees.
Bless you.
Oh, thank you.
Damien Andrade, you could unmute yourself. I'm trying to recall if you are our presenter this evening.
Hello. Yeah, no, I'm just a regular resident in Sunset Park. Yeah, sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Have you been sneezing a lot lately? What? Sneezing today a lot? Sneezing? No. No? Okay, good.
Jeremy, I'd be happy to facilitate if there's a need for that.
I think that's fine, but we have nothing to facilitate yet. I'm wondering if there was an email problem, if we sent the wrong dates. But everybody here got this date.
Are you able to contact Natasha?
She was out for personal reasons today. Good evening, Ms. Anderson.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
I believe you are a presenter this evening, am I correct?
Yes, I'm trying to pull up the presentation for the share screen.
Oh, sure. I have to give you permission to be able to do that. If you hold on 1 minute, we just need to start our meeting and get our roll call out of the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to work on the on that document.
No
So it's
problem.
fine.
I would have to give you permission to share your screen, though. So if
Okay.
you just hold off until we do the roll call, I'll give you permission at that point.
Okay, yeah, just have to find it. No worries. Sounds good.
Great, thank you. Cindy, if you'd like to get us started, and then I'll call roll and we can move on through.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Education and Youth Committee. We're going to have a presentation today by the Brooklyn Transition and College Action Center. So we're very grateful to have a speaker here. I'm wondering, Jeremy, if after we do roll, since we have only 2 attendees, if we could have everybody promoted to panelists today, since it's a smaller crowd.
I'll be happy to take care of that. Would you like me to start with roll?
Sure.
Okay, and Cindy, I forgot to do that, but I will also make you a co-host as well.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to mute everybody. And committee members, when I call your name, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. If you are a board member but not a committee member, I am not going to call your name, but I am going to write your name down on the attendance. Let's start with Cesar Zuniga. Stacy Boyd. Sylvia Augusto. Amel Afzal.
Present.
Thank you. Alberto Ortiz Almeida.
Present.
Thank you. Nicholas Azadian. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Cynthia Felix.
Here.
Thank you. Kenny Guan. Nicole Huang. Nicole Huang.
Yes, here.
Thank you. John Johnston. John Johnston. Beverly Kleinman.
Present.
Thank you. Aurelis Martinez. Marilyn Melman. Rovika Rajkishan.
Sorry, Jeremy,
Yeah.
I'm here. I apologize. Couldn't get to the mute button.
Is that John Johnston?
John Johnson, present.
Thank you. Rovika, I got you as well. Again, if you are a board member but not a committee member, I will write your name down as well. Cindy, you could introduce our guest and I will.
Okay, and right before I do that, I'm just going to let everyone know that the captions are available if anybody needs to use them. And you should just click the CC button at the bottom of your screen and select show subtitles. If it's possible to promote the attendees to panelists. And then we will invite our guest to share more with us about the Brooklyn Transition and College Action Center. So if you would like to join us, is your name, I'm sorry, is your name Shireen?
Yeah, hi. I'm having a little difficulty with the PowerPoint here, so just give me 1 second.
No problem. No problem.
It's
Take your time. And if at the beginning of your presentation, you could just share sort of the, or during your presentation, sort of if there's anything you're hoping for us to support or do, or how we can support you.
Yes, so, okay, so I'm gonna try something. It looks like is this a TCAC?
And if it's easier for you to email the presentation, have one of us show it, we could also do that.
Okay,
Oh.
do you see something on the screen there?
Yes, we're in business.
Yeah, well, it's sorta, it's not, it actually looks, it's not. It looks weird. Hold on one sec.
Okay, no
Mhm.
worries.
Let me try some other way, maybe. Or you know what, who could I email it to real quick? Because it looks a little strange on my side.
Email it to the BK07 email address. You have that one, am I right?
Okay, hold on one second. I'm just gonna let you tell me live. Let me just go to my, oopsie. Go here and go here, forward. Okay, what's the email address?
BK like Burger King 07.
All right, at cb.nyc.gov.
You got it.
Okay, I see it. Okay, so I'm gonna email it directly to you.
Okay, give me a couple of moments to receive that and
No worries.
download it, and then we'll use my screen.
Yeah, because I don't know why it looks so weird on my screen. The funness of Zoom. All right. Okay, it's on its way.
Great. Well, at least we could work a backup plan.
Yeah, I know. It happens to me too. When people come on and, they're like, oh no, it's not working. Can you share my screen?
Mhm.
That's fine. Thank you so much for doing that. So while Jeremy gets that going, I'll just begin. So good evening, everyone. My name is Shireen Anderson, and I am the Community Engagement Manager for Brooklyn TCAC. So TCAC is Transition College and Access Center. And that just means that we work with high school kids with an IEP or a 504. So there are 5 TCACs, one in each borough. I just happen to represent the one for Brooklyn, but there's one in Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, and we all do the same thing, right? So we all work with high school students between the ages of 14 to 21 to provide various resources and activities for, students with an IEP. So I wanted to present first, I guess, to the Education and Youth Committee of CB7. And then the goal is to hopefully overall present to the entire community board, when you guys meet, because I'm sure, there may be parents who are part of the community board who have students in high school, and their student may have an IEP or a 504, and they may not even realize that a TCAC exists where they can get resources. So the presentation I'm going to share with you just sort of, gives an overview as to what TCAC is, some of the examples of the resources and support that we provide, and then hopefully this would lead to a larger meeting with, as I said, parents and members of the larger community board who may have students. So that's the ultimate goal. And, so that's one of the ultimate goals. And the other ultimate goal we'll get into in a little bit once I dive into the presentation. So that's in a little bit of a nutshell while we gear up. So let me just ask a couple questions while we wait. So I see that there's 15 people here. So these are the 15 people, or a little bit more, but those who are here, they're all make up, obviously, part of the Education and Youth Committee, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So we have people here who serve on that particular community or that particular committee.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is we also have monthly meetings. And so what we will do is provide the notes and also this recording as well as your presentation, your slides, if we have permission to share those,
Mm-hmm.
with the broader community board, the members of the community board. And so we have the committee members that are here, but there are also other community board members that are here today that have an interest, I'm sure, in this topic, as well as some people who have tuned in that have, you know, an interest and aren't necessarily serving as a community board member, but saw this meeting and wanted to participate. So that's who we have here today, and we're really excited to think with you about how you can reach a broader number of parents within the community.
Okay, terrific. Sounds good. So I see that it's up on the screen. Thank you so much, Jeremy. So you can advance to the next slide. Oh, you know what? I think I can do it. Is that you or me?
That's me.
Okay. I think I clicked at the same time you did, so I got all excited, but that's fine. So, you know, so as I said earlier, you know, our mission and statements of the transition and college access centers, because as I mentioned, there's one in each borough, supports schools and families by facilitating a seamless transition for students from school to adult life. So we try to really, you know, make sure that all students are provided with experiences that certainly foster their academic and their social, emotional, and vocational growth and excellence, facilitating various pathways to graduation and success after high school. So really what all that means really in a nutshell is that, you know, as I said before, we're providing, working with these high school students, various resources, and I'll go through what some of those resources are to prepare them once they graduate from high school, whether they decide to go to college, or whether they decide to live independently, or whether they decide to get a job, whether that's, you know, in a vocational trade or some other, you know, aspects. But the population that TCAC serves are high school students between the ages of 14 to 21 with an IEP or a 504. So an IEP just stands for Individual Education Plan. And that means that the student, you know, may have a disability, but it ranges across the spectrum, right? So I like to tell the story that if Joe Biden and I were going to high school, they'll probably say we have an IEP because we both stutter, right? So, you know, and that ranges across the board. A lot of people hear the word disability and they automatically, you know, picture somebody in a wheelchair or something to that effect. And that's not necessarily the case with what an IEP is. You know, I had a young lady who has an IEP and she did her summer youth employment, which I'll get into in a little bit. And this kid's going to be a neuroscientist. Okay. So, I mean, at 16, her brain is like, it's out of a scientist level. So, you know, so you can't really, you know, we don't want to stigmatize anybody with that saying, but that's just, you know, it just really means overall to give them extra help to make sure that they succeed once they graduate from high school. And so this just is a snapshot of the various stakeholders that we work with. Of course, the students are the center of everything. And then off of that, we work with their families. We work with various post-secondary institutions, whether that's, you know, 2-year college, 4-year college, vocational schools. We work with various business entities, and I'll get into why we do that with the various business entities, community-based organizations like yourself, and of course, educators. And the educators that we work with, so we call them TTLs, transition team leaders. And so that basically means that these are educators, transition team leaders who work with the high school students to get them prepared. So how TCAC is sort of structured, and if you can go to the next slide for a second, Jeremy, that'd be great. And you can just hit the button on that, and the 7 overall or the 9 overarching goals will pop up. So just keep hitting and then it'll load, because I'm not going to read every one word for word. I'm just going to give like a little snapshot of each one. Okay, fantastic. You just stop right there. So, you know, we work with these transition team leaders who work with the high school students. So TCAC, the TCAC office is divided into 2 different sides. There's an instructional side, which are teacher trainer specialists, an instructional lead, and they're the ones who work hand in hand with the TTLs, with the educators and the teachers. I am not a teacher, I'm not on the instructional side, so there is an operations side, and that's the side that I work on. I'm on the operations side where I sort of more work, you know, quote unquote, right, on the operations, working with the businesses, especially as a community engagement operator. I am the face out there making connections, like what I'm doing right now with your organizations and various other organizations and entities to educate, but also build relationships to get these students opportunities in terms of internships, which we'll dive into in a minute. So we've got 9 or 7 overarching goals for TCAP. I'm not going to read them word for word, but you know, our number 1, of course, is transition focus, to provide information, resources, and linkages to the students as they prepare for college or career once they graduate from high school, you know, to engage in the various community-based organizations. And we do a number of work-based learning opportunities and employment access, which I'll dive into in a little bit, you know, working, of course, with students with disabilities. We work to support and make sure that the students can obtain their graduation and diploma requirements and credential option. And that bullet falls under our instructional side for the instructional team to work with these educators. You know, we support the administration to make sure that we have age-appropriate transition assessments. Again, this falls under our instructional side to make sure that the students are, you know, informed and make sure they have a centered transition plan once they graduate from high school. Again, we engage in families, you know, so meeting with the various PTAs, boards when they have their monthly meetings to do the same thing like what I'm doing here with you. Meeting with not just, you know, the education committee of the community boards, but with the overall community board members themselves, let them know about our resources. And, you know, and also from an instructional standpoint, they do a number of student and family-centered workshops to help not only the students prepare, but also for the families and their caregivers to also prepare the students as they graduate. We do a number of develop and do lead in terms of evidence-based professional development that comes from the instructional side. And of course, as we mentioned before, you know, coordinate and facilitate various work-based learning opportunities, which I'm going to actually dive into right now on the next slide. You can click ahead there. Okay, fantastic. So we have a number of work-based learning opportunities that we offer throughout the year. So, you know, our world sometimes is, you know, before COVID and after COVID, right? So one of the programs that we have that happens in the fall, it's actually happening right now. It's called TOP, Training Opportunities Program. And the TOP program is designed to really support, you know, a school's effort in guiding students with an IEP through work-based learning experiences that would take place to make sure that their achievement of measurable secondary goals are met. So the TOP program happens mostly within the school. It's an internship that takes place usually from, well, so here we go with the before COVID and after COVID. So prior to COVID, TOP ran from October until about May. We serviced in Brooklyn alone, because Brooklyn is always the largest borough, so we're the largest TCAP. Same amount of staff though, but it's the largest borough with the largest amount of students, but we have the same staff. So we serviced about 1,800 high school students in the TOP program. And they would get a payment. I don't even like to use the word stipend, but I guess it's a stipend, but it was a significant payment of about $2,000 when they worked between October to May. So that was prior to COVID hitting. When COVID hit, like everything else and everybody else, of course, budget got slashed. And so, you know, during the pandemic, we still did TOP. Everything was virtual. And of course, they slashed it. So instead of us servicing, 1,800 students, we serviced about 450 students. And they get a stipend, a very reduced stipend of about $250. But it was still an opportunity for students to gain that work experience. So what we did during 2020 and 2021, where we did things virtually, was we brought on a number of companies that would speak about, the company career opportunities within the company, a day in the life of being a police officer, a day in the life of working at Xerox, a day in the life of being in aeronautics, right? And so, one of the upsides about COVID, I know there's not an upside, but in this case, it was an upside, is that we were able to connect with companies and provide virtual internships that these students would never normally have an opportunity to do. Because if you're in the borough of Brooklyn, you would have to do your internship within the borough of Brooklyn, because the student may not be travel trained to take the train or the bus. The parent may not be comfortable with the child traveling. So they had to do the internship within their borough. COVID happened and we all shifted to virtual, like what we're doing right now. And so we, a great example, I love to tell the story. We connected with a company out in Lafayette, Tennessee, called Independent Science. Independent Science is a company that's founded by a gentleman who is sight impaired. 90% of the staff is sight impaired, but the students, we got interns there. They've taken over the past 2 years, at least 6 interns. And they're not sight impaired, our interns are not sight impaired, but these interns have a skill of being a graphic artist. I can't draw a stick figure, but these guys are major talented. And so the internships that these students did was they would create their flyers. They would create, images for their newsletter. The young lady who I talked about, who's the neuroscience, did a whole sort of white paper, for lack of a better term, about, different things that being sight impaired can be accomplished, etc. So, these were the opportunities that our students gained, where they were able to do internships with companies that they wouldn't even normally be able to do. Another young man who has Asperger's, he's now graduated, but he did an internship with a company called Silicon Harlem. And Silicon Harlem, they're in Harlem, but he still couldn't do it because he lived in Brooklyn, but he could do it during the pandemic because it was virtual. And Silicon Harlem provided, internet. Their goal is to provide internet and broadband to areas and opportunities that would be lacking. And what this young man would do is he would get on the phone and they would give him a list of all the different organizations and businesses that he had to call up. And they had to find out, do they have internet? Do they have broadband? If they don't, what they would need to make this happen. And he made notes and things of that nature. So, COVID really opened up an opportunity for our students to, experience things that they wouldn't normally do. We connected with a company out in Arizona. The guy has a flight aeronautics company that teaches young people how to fly. And so granted, our folks couldn't go out there and fly, but they would come on and he would do a virtual tour of the hangar. And he would have, speakers come on who are pilots with Delta and pilots with American Airlines. And they would talk about how they got started, and what it means to be, to work in aeronautics or to be a pilot. So those are just some of the examples. So for our top program, which is happening right now, it's a lottery system, right? So we are doing top again in 2022. It's going back to being in person. So the students are being able to do their internships within their school. There is a few students who will do their internship with a company, not a lot, because as I said, 90% of top is done within the school, but we do have about 10% where the students can do an internship with a company. So, another thing here is if there's anybody on here that has a business and they want an intern, I would love to talk to you. And so, so we're going to be doing that. It is a lottery, right? We've got about over 800 applications right now for top. We're going to be running a lottery. And we, because of the budget, each borough is allowed to have 450 students. So half of the students who applied won't be chosen, but we have other opportunities that we can hopefully get them into. So TOP really has 4 focus: career-focused research projects, job shadowing, school-based enterprises, and of course, internships with an industry partner. So the application deadline just passed last week. We're sort of gathering all the materials right now, and then students can begin in December, and they go through about the beginning of May. And as you can see there, they get a stipend of $250, and they can work up to 15 hours. So some people, I'm sure, because that's what I said, 15 hours, that can be done in like a week, right? But, it's not about so much about, the hours or the stipend. Of course, that's all great incentive, but it's all about giving these kids experiences to really learn what it is to work at a job, make sure you're on time, make sure you're following directions, make sure you're speaking up for yourself, make sure you're talking if you need any sort of, accommodations, etc. So that's really what the experience is about. So that's one of our work-based learning programs that we have, which is TOP. The other one, which will be on the next slide, is SYEP. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with SYEP, right? Summer Youth Employment. And that happens, as it says, during the summer. So SYEP, we connect, New York City youths with career exploration opportunities and paid work experiences. So the participants have the opportunity to explore their career interests and career pathways and develop workplace skills to engage them in learning experiences, whether it's through social, civic, or leadership skills. And so we do this in conjunction with DYCD, the Division of Youth and Community Development, where we connect with businesses and the students work during the summer and they get paid. So there's 2 strands to SYEP. There's the younger youths, and those are the ages 14 to 15, and they do the internship virtually. And then there's the older youth, which are 16 to 21, and they actually go out and get the work experience. They're actually working in the job in the summer. So SYEP runs from July until August for 6 weeks. The students get paid $15 an hour. We just need to connect with businesses that are willing to take on these interns. So I say it again, someone said, let us know what you need. So that's the other thing that we need. As if anybody here is working at a company or as a small business or working at a corporation and they're based in Brooklyn, or maybe they may not even be based in Brooklyn, but they can take on an intern virtually, because we are doing that as well. This is something that we would love to sort of connect with and make sure that we can place our students working there. So the majority of the students do work in person, do work in person in Brooklyn. But for the summer of 2022, we had 5 companies that took on interns that were virtual. Independent Science was one of them. Brooklyn Vets was another one where they had an intern doing things with them virtually. Another company called Disability Champions, Kiko, and Solid Gold. So there are about 4 or 5 companies where the students could work virtually doing SYEP, but the majority of the students do work in person. And we've placed students with the Parks Department, we place students with nonprofit organizations, we place students with after school. So there's a number of different areas where we can place students. Oh, okay, fantastic. Well, look at that. Well, maybe you can take on one of our interns. That would be great. So that's SYEP, and the heavy lifting of my job is to really forge those relationships with companies in Brooklyn. One of the places I'm trying to get into is Coney Island, right? Because we have a lot of students who live within the Coney Island space, and we haven't been able to sort of break that door down to sort of get students working in Coney Island. Another one is at the Barclays Center. So if anybody has contacts within the Barclays Center or Coney Island, please let me know, because we're really trying to see if we can place some students doing internships, at those organizations. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, Jeremy.
I'm trying, but for some reason it's not going.
It's
So,
not going. Oh, no.
let's see. Oh, there we go.
Okay,
All right. All yours.
Okay, no worries. Great. So, you know, for SYEP, so this just gives you a little bit of a snapshot that we talked about, the 14 to 21, the 5 boroughs, etc. But what I want to stress with SYEP, because it is a lottery, and what we tell parents and we hammer it home is if you have a student with an IEP or a 504, you should apply directly to Brooklyn TCAT for SYEP. And you know, at the end, I'm going to drop my, I'll drop the email address in the chat. But this is why I'm stressing this, because DYCD is summer youth, DYCD, you know, collects all the applications. But if the application comes through us, the pool is smaller. So for example, DYCD gets applications, they may get 10,000 applications for SYEP, and it's a lottery, and they may only have space for 7,000, right? But if you apply with TCAT and you have an IEP or a 504, our pool is going to be smaller. So we may get 1,000 applications, but each borough gets 250 students that they can take on for SYEP. So the pool is a lot smaller when you apply directly with TCAT than if you apply through DYCD. So that's one aspect. So if the student has an IEP or a 504, they should be applying directly to Brooklyn TCAT or one of the other TCAT offices, depending on where they go to school, through our office and not through DYCD. So one, because the pool is smaller. Two, because we've got really hands-on, not to use the word service, but we're really hands-on with the students because we hire teachers who are monitors who work with us throughout the summer. They work hand in hand with the students and they work hand in hand with the business that has the intern. So we provide a lot of support to both the student and the business themselves that take on these internships, right? If you go through DYCD, you're not going to get that, right? So that's why we stress so much to parents. If your child is an IEP or a 504, apply directly to Brooklyn TCAT for SYEP. All righty. So we go to the next slide. So that's the other one. So we have TOP, we have SYEP, and then we have pre-ETS. Is going to come up in a second. So pre-ETS, that's the other work-based learning opportunity that we have. So pre-ETS stands for pre-employment transition services. And so it's a series of 5 deliverable pre-employment and transition services for high school students with a disability as they prepare for life after high school and experience post-secondary success. So what we're doing is we're setting them up before they even graduate to really hone in on 5 different areas that we think will help them succeed. Job exploration, work-based learning, counseling on post-secondary options, workplace readiness training like resume writing, you know, how to do an interview, etc., and introduction to self-advocacy. Because once you leave high school, it's on you, the student, to advocate for yourself and to self-disclose, you know, whatever the disability might be in case you need any sort of accommodations, right? So, you know, you yourself have to know that no one's going to ask you, you have to self-disclose. So that's why we have these 5 areas where the students can choose from. So each area is 4 45-minute sessions. It's done virtually and it is done with an educator. And they don't have to take all 5. You know, if a student applies and they say, well, I only want to do job exploration, that's fine. They can do job exploration, but they have to be committed to doing 4 45-minute sessions. And they work out that schedule between themselves and the educator. And these sessions happen after school. So it's always after school. The student cannot be already getting services from Access VR. Access VR is an organization that provides services to students with a disability. So they cannot already be receiving services through Access VR. They cannot apply, but if they're not receiving services through Access VR, they can apply through our office for pre-ETS. We got a grant from the state, and we need to, make sure that we are fulfilling those numbers. So again, if a parent or somebody has a child with an IEP or a 504, this is another opportunity. And all these services are free. There's no cost, right? That the student can take advantage of. So that is pre-ETS. Next slide, Jeremy, if you don't mind. Thank you. And you can just hit the button and it'll all come up. So this just gives you a little bit of a further breakdown as to what, remember I mentioned that, these are the 5 and that they need to do 4 45-minute sessions, and it just sort of breaks out what each of those 4 45-minute sessions entail. I'm not going to read them word for word, but you get the idea as to what, what the students can choose from. And as I said, they can do all 5, they can do 1, they can do 3, they can do whatever it is that they feel they want to hone in on and sort of sharpen that scale to move on and be successful after they graduate. Okay, next slide. I think that might be it. Let's see. And again, so I'm going to drop, the Brooklyn TCAC email in the chat. You can see it there, but maybe a little bit hard to read. They can send an email to Brooklyn TCAC and say that they're interested in hearing more about pre-ETS. And then we can send them the links to the application. There's a brochure that they can receive to even read up further on. And then they can apply online through a paper application. If the child is under 18, we just need the parent's signature to sign off. But if the child is over 18, the child can independently on his or own apply through us for pre-ETS. Okay, next slide. And then this is just a snapshot of some of the workshops that we're doing for this year, and we're going to be gearing up to doing a number of other workshops beginning in January. So in the fall, we had a 3-part series on college and vocational options. So in October, we had representatives from CUNY schools and different schools and schools and universities talk about, the admissions process, what you need to do, financial aid, any accessibility or accommodations, etc. A couple weeks ago in November, we had various representatives from SUNY campuses come on. So we had Stony Brook, SUNY Purchase, SUNY Old Westbury, and I forgot the other 3 that we had on. And then in a couple of weeks in December, because not everybody may want to go to a 4-year college or a 2-year college. Some kids may be interested in a certificate program or a vocational trade. So we're going to be having speakers from various vocational trades come on in December to talk about, their admissions process and what their certificate program is about. So those are what we've been doing so far for the fall. When January comes around, we're going to be doing once a month from January until June, a series of career exploration. So we're going to have different speakers come on and talk about, their work in tech, their work in the financial industry, their work in the construction industry, et cetera, and what that looks like. So we're actually finalizing that right now with those dates. And I'm always happy to share out so you can share it with your folks on your community board. So that's just a snapshot of some of the things that we've done. On the other side of the coin is, of course, remember I talked earlier about our instructional team. And the instructional team has their own workshops that they do, a lot of workshops. They have a lot of workshops that they do with families that want to come on and learn more about, what they need to do to prepare their child or any sort of resources. And so if a parent is interested in that, they can again email our office and say, I hear you guys have some resources or I'm looking for some help, and we can connect them with our instructional team, and they would meet with them one-on-one to figure out what their needs are and provide that support. And I think that might be the last slide, right? Or maybe there's one more slide. I don't think so. That might be it.
That was it.
That was it. Okay. So that is just, a snapshot as to what our office does and the important work that we try to facilitate, making sure that, families with students with an IEP know who we are and that they have a place that they can go for these resources and these opportunities that the students can have. I'm happy to take any questions, but in the meantime, I'm going to put the email address of Brooklyn TCAC in the chat. So if anybody wants to reach out as well. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I heard from the presentation a few things. One is that in terms of like needs and how we can support you, one is getting out the word to parents, right, about these opportunities. And also if there are organizations or companies in the district that would like to host interns or provide support for this sort of career exposure, that you are looking for that as well. Are there any deadlines that organizations or companies should be aware of if they'd like to support your programming?
So for SYEP, we'll begin to reach out and solidify, businesses and organizations beginning in February. That's when we sort of begin the planning. Applications from businesses to say they're interested in hosting an intern, I believe is usually due, I want to say May or June. They change it every year, but it's around May or June where the application would be due. And, if someone is interested, just contact Brooklyn TCAC. So we have the application ready. We can send it out. I usually like to meet with the businesses, just, virtually, just to have a conversation, get an idea as to what their business is about, what they're looking for, things of that nature. Because, believe it or not, we've got 250 kids that do this internship. And I try to call every single one. My office thinks I'm nuts, but I try to call every single one of them just to ascertain, what the kids might be interested in, right? I don't want to place somebody that's going to be like really unhappy. I can't place everybody in every single thing that they desire, but I certainly try and do my best to make that happen, at least with 90% of the students. So my March to June is I come home at night and I'm calling kids and parents and they're like, what is going on? It's 7 o'clock. What are you calling me? But once we get to talk, they're like, oh yeah, okay, exactly. So if anybody here interested, please just reach out to the TCAC address and then I can connect with them and have that further conversation.
Thank you so much. And I know Cesar is also here. So I chair the accessibility committee. It's the ability and access committee. And I'm also thinking there's an opportunity here for advocacy, right? And engagement with the community board for young people that work with you. So that's also something we could potentially explore. But I'd like to share with Beverly, Beverly has their hand raised. So Beverly, if you'd like to unmute.
Thank you. And thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. My question has to do with the type of diploma. I understand that what an IEP diploma is, but is that a state certified diploma or is it an IEP diploma?
Right. So the students don't get an IEP diploma. They get a regular diploma. Yes.
So they're required to take all the state exams.
Yes.
With assistance, assistance, extended time and whatever else they may need.
If they need any sort of, accommodations or anything during the testing period, and the teachers, I'm not a teacher, but the teachers work with those students to make that happen. But yes, so they don't get an IEP diploma, they get a regular, because, it's interesting. This has come up quite a bit this year. I've been, reaching out to some of the vocational and trade schools to come on and speak on December 14th. And twice someone has said to me, well, do they have an IEP diploma? And I was like, nope, they don't get an IEP diploma. So it's interesting that you would ask that, as well this evening as well, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Oh, okay. Oh, Caesar, okay.
Hi, how are you? So,
Oh, okay, here's Caesar, terrific.
sorry I was late. Just I guess along the same lines of what Cindy was saying about helping you sort of expand the reach into to the community, specifically with parents. Are you or someone within one of the centers be available if we convened a group of parents through some of
Yes,
our relationships with our community-based partners?
absolutely.
If we convene them in a room, could you perhaps make this same type of presentation? Because I do think that the resources that you you outlined are sorely needed, and sometimes are farthest away from the folks who need them the most, the opportunity. So I would love to just kind of explore with you whether or not we could
Oh, yeah, no, I'd love to,
do
absolutely.
that. Great.
Yeah, so I see your phone number. I will text you and then we can set something up. We can talk further and then we'll figure it out. Sounds good. Cindy, you have your hand raised too?
Yeah, I had a question about whether, and you might not have this information on this call, but I think it would be helpful if we did do one of these convenings, is whether you have had businesses or organizations in our district participate. It sounds like the community board has participated, but you know, if there's a way that we can also kind of get more the word out about that, and also just know what the level of participation has been in terms of support, companies or organizations that have supported these placements,
Right, yeah.
as well as like placements of students as well from
Yeah,
our district.
What I would have to do is look and see the businesses that took on interns this year, what their zip code is, and if their zip code aligns with your zip code, and then I could let you know. And I mean, if I mean, Caesar, when you and I talk, maybe you can just lay out for me, because I live in Washington. No offense to Brooklyn. I live in Washington Heights, so I'm at the top of the spectrum. And my office is actually is based out of Boys and Girls High School. So I have like a 1 hour commute, literally it's a 1 hour commute, door to door, every day. And so, I'm getting to know the lay of the land in Brooklyn, as they say, but I don't know all the zip codes, like how I know all the zip codes in Manhattan, right? So, but what I can do is when you and I talk, you tell me the zip codes that are in CB7, and then I can look at the zip codes for the companies that took on some interns this year, and I can tell you who they are. Because we had like Elite Learners, but they're probably not in 7. We had Brooklyn, I just blanked, but I can tell you, I don't want to hold up, but we can talk about it and see if there's any that lines up.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I'm particularly interested in just connecting you to the network of community-based organizations and other institutional kind of folks within the community. I think there's a lot of like really good overlap, and we just have to get you out there. I'm particularly compelled to by the providing resources around some of the self-advocacy stuff that you talked about, which is again really, really important for young people to understand the value and sort of the expectation that there is in a lot of the service provision in this city, that there needs to be some like self-advocacy, right? So I'm really like so keen on helping you kind of expand that and really get people the capacity to do that, because you need capacity to do that. And
Exactly.
I'm really, really interested in helping you explore that.
Okay, terrific. Sounds great. I'm excited.
And Shireen, if you aren't in touch with the Southwest Brooklyn Industrial Development Corp., which is an organization of over 300 industrial businesses along our waterfront, everything from woodworking to the Brooklyn Nets. I would be happy to help you make those connections. I think there can be a lot of great internship opportunities there.
I was thinking them, Jeremy, as well as Randy's shop. No, not Randy's shop. Liliana. So OBT.
Right. Well, I mean, Randy's as well with the Chamber of Commerce. I mean,
Yeah.
the Chamber of Commerce could get you businesses all over the borough.
100%. Absolutely. That's a great idea. So
We
we'll
also
talk
have
more
David with the
offline.
bid
Yeah.
and
there you
David
go.
with the bid.
Bid as well. Yep. So there's a lot of opportunities here. We'll just have to, we'll follow up.
Sure, okay, sounds great.
I have a question, if it's okay. Do you work or is there coordination with the Office of Travel Training to help students if they have in-person internships to be able to get to their internships if they're on site?
Yeah, so our office doesn't have that relationship. But I can check to see if there is a instructional, and they don't use the word disability. I forget what they are, but they might. So, but what's the name of the?
Yeah, it's the Department of Education has the Office of Travel Training where
Oh.
they support young people to develop independent travel skills, which can be anything from riding, I'm not an expert in this, but anything from riding the subway to safely crossing the street. And so it's mobility and orientation, and it's typically for students with a wide range of disabilities. And so oftentimes, like one of the barriers is getting to that internship, right? And so if you can get there, then now you're in business, you know? So that's another reason why we want to share this with families that are in the district, but obviously get more organizations and parents involved, because it would be great if people had those mentorship opportunities directly within our district. But there's also this question about placements and traveling to get to the actual internship.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we had a couple of students over the summer that we placed. And, and they would come back to us and say, oh my God, it's really far. It's like 45 minutes away. Can you find me something closer? So we had to sort of, shift gears and like, okay, well, how can we make this happen? So that's so true. We do try our best to place the students near where they live, but, depending if we don't have enough businesses that's in that area and we have more kids in that area than we have internships for, then we have to make the call as to, well, this kid is 18, maybe he can travel a little bit further out, and mom and dad is not so, and they're like, well, no, mom and dad said I can only take the bus, I can't take the train. So we have to sort of, work around that. So that's great. Okay, anything else? This was great. It's a great meeting. I'm running.
Are there any other questions or comments? I don't think so. Okay. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for starting us. And we'll be in touch. You have my number. And then we'll just do some follow-up on some of the items we talked about.
That sounds terrific. And then I'm sure you have Sydney's email, and I've got Jeremy's, right? So we can
we'll close the loop. Okay.
Yeah,
thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
If you want me to send you the presentation, let me know, and I can always send it, and then we can share it out. Okay, sounds great.
I already have it.
That's right, you do. Sounds
you.
great. All right, thanks so much. Have a great evening. We'll be in touch.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Night, everyone.